Good morning. I'm here today with Jim Hicks to visit about his exciting new book, A Drink of Water, which features quotes by Jim and incredible photography from Donnette Hicks and Kim Stone. So good to see you today, Jim.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
So tell me a little bit about what inspired this particular book project.
Well, let's just say that over the years I've been inspired by, specific quotes that I heard Ray use, recite, or Tom recite. And they've had a profound effect on me in my life. One of them would be, recognize the slight changes in small tries, things like that. And I've found that through my journey of working with horses and people in the last 40 years, that there is an abundance of information out there, and a lot of times people are just really overloaded with information, and they're confused in their own thoughts. And so the book and these quotes that I've come up with they're ways that I've been able to sort out my own thoughts and narrow things down to a focus, and it allows me to be able to ride my different horses that I encounter. And when I find that I'm, let's just say, encountering a challenge or something that requires me to think a little bit more, I can start kind of walking through these different thoughts that bring me to different focal points. And I find a lot of times it puts me more in the feel and timing of the moment. So basically, it's just a way to condense a lot of information into small bites. The complicated part is that for any one of those quotes, it's left to interpretation and where people are at in their education and their training, and where they're at in their life at any given moment. And I find that even reflecting back, this project, I really started putting a lot of effort into it for the last year. And as I sat down and worked through my thoughts and started really focusing in and looking at, why is it that I do what I do, and why do I think what I think, and what is the different effects that it has positively or negatively. And I find that even in that short period of time, I look back on them and they have different meanings, or even from one day to the next, I might have a different outlook as to what that might mean. And then obviously that's relative to the person that I might be working with, or the horse that I'm working with, or the horse and rider combination, and the challenges that they may be encountering with translating the conversation between the horse and the rider. And then there's the third part, which is my translating it to them as well, and so I find that it's just really helpful in my world and the way I like to think about things. And and as we went through this, and Donnette and Kim have really taken some amazing photos over the years, and I felt the focus was with each quote, there was specific photos that were picked out so that hopefully the horse and the ride, the horse in the moment would catch the expression of the words. So in other words, let's through these small quotes, can we tell a story visually? And I feel like that I can't speak for anybody else, but what I can speak to is for myself, is there's so much information overload as far as all the stuff that is coming at us. I find that when I can visually look at something and I can read it and I can put the two together, I seem to be able to remember it. And so that would be my hope for, riders, is maybe they pick something for the day, or pick something for the week, or whatever their timeline may be, and that they may be able to explore what that might mean to them, and how that might direct the relationship that they have with their horse in a positive way.
Well, and I love thinking about it that way. And as you're talking, I'm thinking it's almost like if you thought of the origin of the quote and the image as like a long piece of prose and a video, and you've distilled it down into one thought, one brief statement, and one moment. And you're right, we are bombarded by so much information all the time, and having that clarity and that concise little piece, it's like, okay, yes, I can focus and take that into my daily life. So really excellent. You and I have worked together a lot through the years in doing the videos that we've done, educational videos for the Horseman's Gazette. And last year I had the opportunity to get to watch you teach in person. And I was so blown away by how different your approach is to teaching. And I just thought it would be fun to visit a little bit about sort of what do you think about when you are approaching a horse and rider combination. Tell me a little bit about what you bring to a clinic or a lesson that sets you apart from other people.
Well, I think we're going to exercise that right here. I think the question I need to ask you is what blew you away was my teaching style? That would be the first question I would ask. Because if I don't know what your distinction or interpretation of that is, then I'm speaking for my own.
Okay. So I really was impressed by how you considered not only the whole horse, but the whole sort of psychological, emotional approach of the rider. And I felt like I hadn't seen somebody take that into account as thoroughly in working through the situation that a horse and rider might be working through in a lesson or in their history. And I was just impressed by the totality of your approach in the teaching. It wasn't just, we'll put that aside, we're focusing on this exercise right now. It was considering the whole moment, whatever that moment was for the particular pair.
Well, I think what makes me unique is that I'm a student of the horse, but I'm also a student of human nature. And even though the horses are, prey animals and they work mostly on, take to flight, and if they can't take to flight, go to fight. But I find that we're not so unlike that, even though we're predators by nature. We're designed, we eat meat, we do different things. It's not hard for us to get on the turn into a warrior. And I think that a lot of times what I see happen, or what's been a personal mission statement of mine, is, every horse that comes in front of me, I see their innocence. And I do not take it personal when they're fearful or upset, or whatever maybe they're even a little spoiled, or whatever the conversation is. It's not personal toward me. It's a misunderstanding, misinterpretation, maybe confusion as to what the expectation is. And I think that the humans the same way. I think that when they come in there and they pay me money to teach them something, I mean, basically the first thing of it is that they're looking for something. And it's not my position to make an opinion about why they understand something or why they don't understand something. My job is to, just like working with the horses, start sorting through the confusion to start finding those little bites of clarity and then expanding on that. And so just as much as I need to nurture the horses, I need to nurture the person. And I find that human nature is, it's easier to be like, it's a lot easier for me to be critical or judgmental of a human versus the horse. I always see they're innocent, but I've really worked diligently to give the human the same respect that I give the horse. When they step in front of me, I'm not working from a preconceived idea of who I think they should be or how they should hear the message or how quickly they should understand it and retain it. It takes the time that it takes. And my commitment to each student that steps in front of me is that they get the best of who I am. So one of my mission statements when I go and teach is that the last ride of the day gets as much energy, if not more energy, than the first ride of the day. And that's how I approach my horses. I don't feel like that I have the luxury of becoming complacent or adapting the mindset of, well, this horse is not ever going to add up to anything, or this human's just never going to get it. The point being is that the horse is in front of me, the human's in front of me, the common denominator is me. And I get to either be part of the problem or part of the solution. And what I can say is that if I start to lose my patience with a horse, which I haven't done in years because I've literally disciplined my mind and my body to not take it personal, is how I did that is when I start feeling that, I'll take a break. Or if I find that I'm running into that with certain personalities with people are a little bit more challenging for me than others. And that's where I've learned to pause or redirect conversation into a place that's useful. And my ultimate feeling with this is that as much as I admire the horse and respect the horse and want to do right by the horse, as long as there's humans involved, the horse is going to be subject to whatever the humans have to offer. And so the horse is going to lose out. If I lose my patience with the human that's, let's just say, in charge of their care or in charge of their training, or nothing good's going to come out of that for the horse. And so I just have really learned over the years that you hear people talk a lot about ego with the horse. But what I can also say very clearly and confidently is that I have no business having any ego with a person, because, they might not be figuring out what it is that I'm offering or attempting to communicate, but it is not a moral dilemma for them. They are not an inadequate human being, because if I was to step into their world and make myself vulnerable to them and what they could teach me, I would find myself challenged, because what I can say is I come across to a lot of intelligent people. They mean well, and they are very brilliant at what they do. And the horse deal is it's a lot for a lot of people. It's a dream. It's they want to live out a fantasy of their childhood. It really doesn't matter, but they're dedicating a lot of time and a lot of money and investing in these horses because they want to have that 1 hour a day or whatever that looks like, that they can go and enjoy that dream. And that's where I really just, every day I check myself on that, because like I say, I'm not always people tease me of having the patience of Job. I'm a very impatient person. I'm silently ADD. My mind can split off in 5 different directions at the same time. But it's a discipline for me to focus. It's a discipline for me to exercise patience, exercise tolerance. It's a discipline to see the brilliance in each person or each rider. And so I have a thought process that I talk to with people quite a bit, or talk to people about quite a bit, and that is, when a horse or rider steps in front of me, the first thing I have learned to do is, instead of teaching what I think that, what I want to teach, I used to go and do these things and I'd tell people what they were going to learn. And I realized that the first question that I need to ask them is what is it that you would like to get out of this experience? What are you being, what are the things that are challenging you? How do you feel like that works for you? And what I find is a lot of times they'll take 15 or 20 minutes telling me everything they don't want to get back to focusing on what they want. And so why that's important for me is it's like a soft feel. The beginning of a soft feel is recognizing that first moment that horse softens and goes, there it is. See, and then we direct our focus in the right place. But if we're so busy focused on all the things that are not working or what's wrong, we're expanding on that versus expanding on those little moments of magic that happen. And I don't use magic like a fairy tale thing, but there's just these moments that happen where you see the horse and the rider have the aha. They understand what is being communicated. That's what lights me up. I had just a little side note here. I was doing a clinic back east, and I had somebody tell me, it doesn't matter to you. You've already got my money. And I says, well, actually, it does matter to me because I like being home, number one. Number two, if I'm going to take time away from my family and my life to come here and take your money, I'm going to be vigilant that you leave with something you didn't have when I arrived. And if I can't do that, then I probably need to stay home and stop teaching. So anyway, I think that's I don't know that it's unique, but that's what's important to me.
That you sort of answered my next question, which was like, what does success in teaching, what does that look like for you? How do you measure that if a lesson, if a instruction has been successful? How does that feel?
Well, I'm just going to come back to the horse again here for a second. So it's like you see a horse struggle a little bit, they're challenged with something, they're afraid of something, they're confused, whatever the conversation is. And then all of a sudden you see that shift. And you see that moment where they let down and they start working their mouth and they start to relax, and then they start to really, and the quieter you get, the more they look for you. And that's how so I never get tired of that moment with the horse, and I'm learning to really become addicted to that with the human as well. Because if I can get the human to get through the confusion and get through the storm and let down and relax, then we've just shifted the trajectory of the conversation for the better. And what I know is that moment may never happen again. But that moment at that time, everybody knows it's possible. because they experienced it. You know, the tricky part about being a teacher is, and it's, you know, horses and humans, this is where I find that we're not that different, is my job is to deliver the information and communicate it in a way that creates confidence. How the horse chooses to respond to that, or how the human chooses to, what they choose to do with that, ultimately it's on their timeline. You know, I can't force that kind of stuff in there. And I think, you know, one of my other challenges is that you really want it for people, but you can't force it in there. And so that's where I just get really excited about those little moments. And what I've experienced over the last decade of teaching clinics and working with people from all over the country, as well as I've been teaching people at home, you know, for 40 years, is that when you build on enough of those moments, amazing things happen between the horse and the human. You know, but it doesn't fit any specific stereotype. You know, I really like the think as people look through the book and look at the pictures, they're going to see the weighted saddle and the rope, and they're going to see the hat and the spurs, and that's going to really strike some people. And then you're going to have other folks that are going to go, well, here's this guy in a set of tails and a helmet and riding a dressage test. And then you're going to see this guy wearing a flat top hat riding a dressage set. You know, and it really just comes back to, I don't fit any particular box. I like being who I am. You know, what I like is what I've learned to appreciate is what you know, I'll just say it this way. Years ago, when I got inspired with this conversation, the first time I heard my wife and her mentor, Ben, talk about some of the things that Ray would say and discuss it, you know, some of it I understood, some of it I didn't. And then when I watched Ray and listened to Ray the first time, in about 45 minutes, it was like, wow, you know, what he's saying and what, you know, what his horses look like and what he's saying, you know, I got the vision. And I've never forgot that. And that's actually where my passion for the horse started. Up until that time, it was just a matter of, they basically were a tool to get a job done. And I didn't know a lot of things about training a horse, but I knew how to get them jump them in the back of a pickup truck with a stock rack. I knew how to get through a gate. I knew how to get them across water. And I really wasn't too concerned about how my horses felt about it. But that really left me uninspired. And then when I started to get involved in this, in that first 45 minutes of listening to what Ray was saying, I got the vision. And that's really where my passion started for the horse and actually seeing the possibilities. And I couldn't wait to basically unlearn everything I thought I knew and go out there and start figuring this thing out. And fortunately, I had some, you know, my wife Donnette and her coach Ben, when Ray wasn't around, they were able to talk to me about certain things and help me understand certain parts of the conversation. Maybe I had some blind spots in, and, you know, and then I just kept immersing myself into these conversations, and I know I'm taking a long-winded way there, but I'm getting back to something. So Ray, every clinic I ever went to, he said one thing: think. And then the other thing he said is that I'm, you're not Ray Hunt. Quit trying to be Ray Hunt. I'm Ray Hunt. But be the best that you can be. So between those two things, it really has, let's just say, given me the freedoms in my mind to explore who is Jim Hicks? What defines Jim Hicks? Why is it that Jim Hicks does certain things that maybe other people don't choose to do, or maybe they don't even agree with it? Well, it comes back to, I want to be the best that I can be for the horse, and I want to be the best that I can be for every human that steps in front of me. And does it mean I don't fall short? No. But that comes back to all these little sayings and thoughts and quotes. Is they're just easy ways to keep my focus. Like if I start getting a little off track, it brings me back on focus. There's the long-winded version.
Well, I love listening to you talk, and I know from past history that you and I could visit all day and not run out of things to talk about. Is there anything else about? Is there any other question about this book that I didn't ask you that we should talk about?
My hope for the book is that it inspires the human every time they pick it up and read one of those quotes to think about why they're doing what they're doing and basically do an inquiry. I got the most out of this deal than anybody else because it really just cleaned up my thinking considerably. And what I've found is the internet's an interesting place to do a little research, and you figure that out by likes and shares. And what I've found is that not that I'm an expert on the internet by any means, but it's not so much the likes, but it's the shares you get on something. And it's been fascinating to see what different people, what excites the shares, and it's and so that's where it's been real interesting to just see where people's minds are at. And what I found is that it's not so unlike people working with their horses. So people here, they tend to be a little more addicted to the negative, a little more addicted to like the drama. And so what I found is through the course of writing the book and learning and sharing different quotes in that, and just learning the feedback that I was starting to create a shift in the thought process of getting people to start recognizing those moments where things are working. And so, just like what I said earlier in the conversation is that people get so focused on what's not working that they lose sight of what needs to work, or they lose sight of that moment of it was there in front of me and I missed it. And I feel like that putting this book of quotes together now really helped me be able to recognize some of those things. And I found that through the course of this, people were responding more positively the longer I was out there. If that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's great that you were monitoring and observing that and learning from what you saw. That's fantastic. Well, I'm super excited to share this with everybody, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to take a look at it and share it with their friends.
Well, and I like to say, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me, and I appreciate all your effort in helping us make sure that we were able to get this done. And I want to just say, I don't take you for granted. I don't take Donnette or Kim for granted because, without a good support system, I'm I'm just another small piece in the big world. So, so thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I really enjoy working with you guys, and I appreciate you visiting with me today. And I'll let you go ride horses and teach, and we'll visit with you on down the road.
Okay. Have a great day.
All right. You too, Jim. Take care. Bye.